Rehab. A lot of you are saying that I needed to go to rehab. A lot of you are saying, why aren't you in rehab? Why aren't you in inpatient treatment? And there's a lot to unpack there. There's a lot of things to touch on. So yeah, let's dive right in, I guess, and see where we get. Thank you for watching my videos every day, by the way. It really means the world to me, and it's something I'm doing every day to avoid. Every afternoon I used to get depressed between now. So now, instead of falling into that depression hole, I come on here, and it's really helping me because I'm not feeling like that right now. So that's really positive. And I feel like I'm connecting with you guys and talking about things that perhaps are hard to talk about, especially for men. I think it's very difficult to talk about mental health. And I heard yesterday that 3 times as many men kill themselves than women. And I think that's definitely because we don't talk about, we don't talk about our mental health struggles. I was in a meeting yesterday and we were talking about how dark and how deep. Someone said to me, I don't necessarily agree with this, but I thought it was interesting. They said to me, men have only a few emotions, like a handful of emotions, but they go super deep. Like they go dark, deep and really dark, which maybe is why men kill themselves so much more, whereas women have a lot more emotions, but they don't, I don't know, he said, this is him, they don't go down to the real darky depths, the dark depths that men go to. And he said, if our girlfriends and wives, if we told them how far down we really go, it'd be scary and they would want to leave. Wow, maybe that's one of the things that, well, that's just blown my mind, actually. It didn't strike me when he said it, but I was telling Laura about my, wow. Is that right? Maybe comment below if as a woman, would you want to hear if your man in your life was so dark and depressed that he was thinking of ending it? Would you? That's a really good question, isn't it? I don't necessarily think that he was right. It struck a chord with me, and then telling you, I was like, wow. When he said that the women in our lives would want to leave if we told them how the depths of the depression that we go to as men, and I realized I was telling that to Laura, and now we're separated. I don't know what that means. That just hit me then, literally as I was saying it, so sorry if it threw me off track a little bit. Wow. Okay. Something to deal with later on, perhaps. So I was saying how far deep that maybe that was bad. Anyway, what they were saying at this meeting is that you can tell another guy because they will have experienced just the few emotions that run super deep. I wish I'd asked him which emotions they are, because I know depression's definitely one of them for me. I'm guessing that anger is another one for guys. I'm guessing that surely happiness. I'm going to ask him. He's a really good friend of mine. I'm going to ask him what those emotions that he thinks, what the handful that men experience, what they are. And his point here is that the women have experience a huge variety of emotions, and it's constantly like you can experience multiple at a time as a woman. And I feel weird about talking about this with all the gender identity now. I feel like you can't say man or what. Can you say man or what? I feel like I want to just say what he told me, but you've got to be so careful that you don't offend people these days. And as I say, this is him, and I don't know if it includes male identifying or if it's literally a difference between a man's and a woman's brain, because they are different, right? A man and a woman's brain, as far as I'm aware, they are different. So that would maybe mitigate what he's saying, that maybe we don't respond to things in the same way. And he also said, actually, this wasn't him, this was another guy, not me again, but he said that the way a woman will deal with a problem is by talking about it, and a man will internalize it. And he was saying, he was saying that it was because in medieval times, a man would go and hunt, and he would have to stab a animal to death, and it wouldn't work if he was crying about that animal's feelings while he was killing it. And the women would be back at camp making baskets or whatever, and they would be discussing the problems. And it was important for the tribe that the females got the information about the other people in the tribe, and then the males would do the hunting, so they couldn't talk. That makes sense to me. That does make sense. I do feel that that's accurate for me. I feel that that's accurate. I mean, I haven't stabbed anything, and I'm a vegan, so apart from the hunting bit, I do think that I go to men's meetings every day, men's AA meetings, just because it's a bit easier to concentrate if it's just a room of men. And we do talk about stuff that you would never say in a mixed meeting, just scary, dark things that you wouldn't necessarily want your wife or girlfriend to see. Wow, yeah, that's why I love making these videos. In talking to you about that, I'm now really thinking about it, and it's really hit me in a different way. When I say things out loud, they hit me back in a different way to if I've just internalized it. Do you get what I mean? So that's why these videos are so valuable to me, because it's a chance for me to just go, bleh, this is how I feel. And then after I've made these videos, I'm like, oh wow, that is how I feel. And I didn't realize until I verbalized it to these beautiful people. Interesting. I'm learning a lot every day from this process, and I'm learning a lot from making these videos, and I'm loving it. I've been going on TikTok Live a lot recently. And that's been amazing. Like, I've never really connected with a live platform. I haven't really tried YouTube Live. I wonder if that's good. But TikTok Live, I'm loving it. It seems really great questions being answered and asked. It's a good community over there on TikTok. Follow me on there if you want. If you want to see me go live, that's where I do it. Sometimes 3 times a day, because I don't have... Literally, people are like, have you been on TikTok Live since 3 days ago? Because I do go on there. I go on there too much. Let's be honest. I should knock it on the head a little bit, but I don't want to. It's fun. So yeah, the subject today at the meeting was crazy. And we're talking about the different types of crazy. And I was saying that my therapist yesterday said, because I'm autistic, I have this special interest thing. Like, I get obsessed with things. It's mainly the same thing. I'm obsessed with music, cars, synthesizers, studio equipment. I'm obsessed with those things. I will literally, this makes me seem like a nut job, but if you're autistic, or if you've got an autistic kid, you know what I mean. I can spend 4 hours, 5 hours making lists of my perfect studio every day for 3 months. And I never look at those lists again. It just gives me so much pleasure to just design them in my head. Or I can be obsessed with different artists and write down how this artist relates to this artist and how these 2 musical genres would be amazing together, and a big list maker. And then I carry that into my next piece. If I'm not writing music, I'm obsessing about it in my head. Cars doesn't really... She was saying, watch those special interests, watch that obsession, and ask yourself, are you giving through that obsession with the music I am? Or are you just spinning your wheels and being obsessed with cars? I probably am just being obsessive. Like, I'm not going to... It doesn't really give me anything, just obsessing about cars. Alfie's the same with music and cars, same thing. When he was in his regression and he was really in a bad way, the only thing that he loved was watching Instagram of like fast cars being driven, like point of view of the driver. And I loved it too, so it's one thing we connected over. Yeah, so she said, watch the obsession. Like, is it serving you, or is it taken away from your life? And it's really hard for me to tell, because my obsession with music is what made me successful in life. And I said that to her, like, that was very valuable to me. And she said, yeah, well, that would be in the good column and write down. And I'm also a little bit embarrassed to write down the things I'm obsessed about, because some of them are stupid, like the writing down this perfect studio like for months. That's weird. That's like makes me look like a crazy person. When I got diagnosed, it made a sense of a lot of my life. Like that, I thought that was just weird that I did that, all those obsessive things. And I didn't ever tell anyone, and I didn't want anyone to see my lists, or I would try to stop talking about music. When someone was talking about something else, I'd be like, don't talk about music, don't bring it around to music. And I'd be like, oh, you could bring that point around to music. Totally obsessed. And I thought it's just me being weird. But it's autism. It's amazing to get that diagnosis and to think, yeah, everything kind of makes sense now. Yeah, so that was a positive thing about autism has been positive in my life. Maybe not, now I'm really thinking about it, maybe some of the things aren't. Like when she's saying some of those special interests are not serving you. So yeah. Anyway, this video is supposed to be, I went off on a tangent, but that's what I love about these videos, is I think I'm going to talk about something and then I'll talk about something else and then I'll have a revelation like I did just then. That's a big deal for me to realize that I was telling Laura about the depths of my depression and sadness, and maybe that wasn't great. Maybe I should have kept some of that stuff in. And where do you draw the line? Because it is scary for someone to hear that. I'm just checking that's recording. That's what I always say. So rehab. A lot of people said to me, you need to go to rehab, or you needed to go to rehab 3 or 4 weeks ago. And I'm going to make a video about exactly what happened. I've decided it's going to be cathartic for me to really go through what happened. And maybe that'll be tomorrow's video, maybe it'll be in a couple of days, but I'm going to make it soon. Because I just want to process what actually happened that day. Because it's coming back to me now, in bits. I pieced it together and I kind of have in my head what happened. And that's another thing that these guys in the meeting are doing. They're challenging me, like, you do remember that. If you think, I'm like, I don't remember how this X, Y, and Z happened. And they're like, you do remember. You just don't want to say it. You're bullshitting us. They're hardcore. And now because of that, I do think that, I know what happened on that day, on that Sunday. And I do want to make a video about it, just purely because I want to talk about it. Because just like you saw then, if I talk about it, I'm going to be connecting dots and go, wow, yeah. So one of the overwhelming things I got, especially at the time, was you need to go to rehab. You need to go into treatment. You need to go into inpatient treatment. Psych ward, I guess, as well, is what people said. And how did you avoid getting committed into 5150? And that I didn't realize that's when they arrested me. That's what they were going to do. I didn't realize. And then I got a message the other day from a woman that works in a 5150 hospital. And she was like, trust me, you should be grateful you didn't end up there, because it's horrible and not productive. So that's confusing. Because part of me was like, I should have told the police the truth. I am going to end it. And then apparently you go into what they call a 72-hour hold, where they put you in one of these places and I guess medicate you, but it was too scary. I didn't want to do it. I've been in a mental asylum once before. I tell you, I make a video about that as well. That's a crazy story. So anyway, the upshot of this video is that I was getting a lot of, you need to go to inpatient, you need psychiatric. And I didn't go. And maybe I should have done. Looking back on it now, maybe I should have, popped myself into treatment for a few weeks. And yeah, I don't know. That might have been a wise move, possibly. It's hard to say now, because I feel like I don't need it now, because I'm past that point, 4 weeks now. But I'm questioning, should I have gone? I should maybe have gone into rehab. I'll make a video. I'll continue this tomorrow and tell you why I think I should have gone into rehab. So yeah, stay tuned for tomorrow's video. The only reason I have to go now is that I'm meeting Laura to discuss some kid stuff. I don't want to be late. But as always, I love you guys, and join me tomorrow. Come back and we'll talk about something else. And I genuinely, people say this, I love you guys. I genuinely love you guys. You've saved my life. And I'm not bullshitting when I say that. You literally have. So thank you. And thanks for the incredible support, most of you. I feel like I talk about the hate too much. It's tiny. It's like 0.001 of the comments. Most of them are amazing and supportive, and I love you guys. For some reason, though, it's the hate ones that stick in your head. I don't know why, and I hate it. And I have all these beautiful comments, and you've been so supportive, and this is turning into such an amazing community. I had a meeting today with a big media company about, we love what you're doing, we need to do it over here and stuff. And I'm like, no, I don't want to. There's nothing in me that wants to make this a bigger deal than it is. I love the intimacy. I love talking to you guys like this. I don't want the bells and whistles. Not interested. Couldn't give a fuck. This is so authentic to me, this connection that we have here. And I'm not interested in legacy media, that traditional. I'm not interested. Not interested. Nothing bores me more than talking about that stuff. This is new, and it's raw, and it's authentic, and no one's going to change this. So I love you guys. Come back tomorrow. Let's talk about something else tomorrow.